各位需要一副耳机，想听中国话的翻译的人，请你们举手。我们现在准备把这个耳机分给你们一份，请你们举手。高。然后呢，这个老执事给你们分。We're passing out Chinese headsets for anybody who would like a Chinese translation. The Vietnamese translation is being taken care of. Guo Hong. Could you say that in Vietnamese, Guo Hong, please? Would you tell everybody to get a headset? 好了。
阿弥陀佛，我们就是解释一点怎么用这个翻译的这个 device。你开就在上面开，有 volume， 所以上面这么开应该可以听得到，就可以看的，没关系，应该可以看得到。如果你需要，就拿一个这个黑色的，然后就这样子开，旁边上面有个开关机，有红色就有了。要就告诉我们的义工，阿弥陀佛。So the volumes here， 那个声音在这边 ，OK。刚刚说中文了，用中文的，就是开的时候在旁边有可以开的地方，有中文的。好，阿弥陀佛。
各位沙弥尼们。请你们尽量往前边，好吧？然后呢 I'm looking at 40, 50 empty seats on the women's side. I would like some volunteers to be brave, stand up and come forward. Please, we want those seats full. Nobody will dare sit in front of you, okay? Please come forward. 大家尽量往前边来坐。Okay, sit forward. Forward, yeah. Empty seats does not work. Okay, great. Well done. I see San Jose lay women boldly coming forward. They're used to me scolding them in San Jose when they leave empty seats, so they know. May, I'm looking at you, come forward. Gohua, I'm looking at you, come forward. Wow, 8 empty rows of seats. Come on, guys. So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Reverend Heng Sure. We're here to celebrate the legacy of our teacher, the Venerable Master Hsuan, in bringing the words of the Buddha to the new land. This is one of our teacher's vows, and we have gathered here not long ago for the 50th anniversary of our teachers bringing the Dharma to the West. And translation of texts and then distribution of those texts is one of his primary tasks as he brought the Dharma to the West. As people will know, our teacher spent part of every single day opening the Buddha's sutras and explaining them for us in language that we could understand. And when he was done, he would say, "Do you have any questions? If you don't have any questions, I do." He would say, "I'm going to ask you." And then he would, just to get the discussion going. And what I gathered from that was it meant a lot to our teacher that we encountered the Buddha's voice in person. There's a custom in Asia that you go through commentaries first. Well, Master Hsuan respected the commentaries and studied them, but then set them aside and gave us the Buddha's sound. He said, we can use our own wisdom. Use your own wisdom to figure out what the Buddha means to you. What did the Buddha actually say? In our teacher's words, he said, the Buddha's sutras are like a mirror. He said, you see your true face. Furthermore, they're like a handbook of self-psychotherapy, figuring out yourself, because the sutras show us our potential for wisdom and compassion. So he says, you can't go a single day without using these sutras to figure out what's going on. So, how interesting, living documents of wisdom. And I might say there are many other textual traditions in the world where what the founder, what the original sage or creator of the faith said is up for question. There's lots and lots of traditions where they talk about how many of the words in this scripture did the founder actually say. And 2,500 years ago, the Buddha gave us these sutras, of which there are over 1,000 available in the collection known as the Three Baskets, the Sutra Pitaka. And by and large, people are not questioning whether these words actually belong to the Buddha. Now, the exciting thing about that is, if you knew that on our planet somebody actually woke up, somebody actually realized the Tao, somebody maximized their potential for wisdom, wouldn't you be interested to find out what they said? And if you were really motivated, you might go through all kinds of difficulty to find a word or a sentence from what that wise person said. And people would say, wow, this is really dedication, wanting to learn from the wise. Well, we don't have to go through such incredible toil thanks to our teacher. He begged us to come and listen to the words of the Buddha. And he gave us the Shurangama, the Lotus, the Avatamsaka, the Earth Store Bodhisattva Sutra, the Amitabha Sutra, the Six Patriarch Sutra, and so many more. So that's what we're all about today, is honoring that legacy. And I will let you know that as I'm standing here speaking this moment, we are webcasting, sending the signal throughout the world. If you are able to get the word back to somebody at home, tell them to click on their browser and go to www. That's the emphasis, right? It's saying underscore. See? He means it. www.drba.org/live. DRBA, Dharma Buddhist Association, drba.org/live. And if you go down the page, on that page, you'll find two utilities. One is Chinese and one is Vietnamese. And if you click on that, you'll be able to hear the translation that is being done in the hall come out of your browser in Chinese and in Vietnamese. Our webcast from the 50th anniversary was a big hit, but people complained that it was all in English and that there wasn't any choice if they didn't understand English. Well, we are trying. It's a big experiment, but we have good hearts at work and real skills here. So if you go down the browser page and click on the player that is Chinese, you should be able to hear 中文 coming out of your browser speaker. And if you click on the one that says Viet, you should be able to get Vietnamese. So how cool is that? Real-time translation from a webcast. So I am here to be the MC, and I want to tell you about our program today. We will start with a video clip of Dharma Master Heng Sure, Heng Sure Fa Shi. Now this is not a live clip, this is a pre-recorded segment. But Dharma Master Sure was there at the earliest time of our first attempts to translate the sutras, as are several others of our senior disciples here. And she's going to talk about what it was like back then to translate, with Master Hua introducing these sutras to mostly American hippies for whom this was all brand new. We're going to go to a section called Celebrating the Successes and Looking Forward, which is to say the ongoing projects. We have already published lots of texts, but they have been by and large piecemeal, especially for the longer sutras. So where are we? What have we published? What is in process? What is nearly completed? And what haven't we started? What are the opportunities for you to get involved? That's our second section. And with each section, I'll introduce the speakers. Instead of my telling you now, you'd forget their names. The third is Dharma periodicals, Vajrabodhi. Now, from the earliest times when our teacher began to turn the Dharma wheel in Hong Kong, just after he left China, as soon as Master Xuanhua arrived in Hong Kong, he started a magazine called Xin Fa, Dharma of the Mind, Dharma from the Mind, or Mindset Dharma, Heart Dharma. How do you translate Xin Fa? So that was his first Buddhist magazine. And in April of 1970, the very first issue of Vajrabodhi magazine, they called it then a journal of the Orthodox Buddha Dharma in the West. Of course, those are hot button terms now, but at the time, that was the name. And the latest issue that arrived in my mailbox last week, issue 507. Unbroken, 507 editions of Vajrabodhi, the Journal of the Buddha Dharma in the West, has come forward. And we're going to hear about the state of Vajrabodhi and how we can bring it forward into the 21st century, ways to improve it. We're going to talk about training translators and looking to the new generation of people who will carry on this work and improve on it. Maybe young people whose first school was a Buddhist school here at the City of 10,000 Buddhas. Maybe somebody who first heard about Master Xuanhua on the internet and wanted to come and take part in that work. So we'll hear about that. Then we're going to hear about distribution. Now distribution, Master Xuanhua gave us the 8 rules for translators. And that last rule said translators must endeavor to print and distribute, circulate the texts that he or she has completed. So we're going to find out about how the texts are going out in the world, where in China, big successes in China with the simplified character translations of Shifu's texts. We're going to hear about Vietnam. Now, I can't confirm this. I haven't heard it first person, but I heard it from reliable sources, that our teacher, Master Xuanhua, is the best known Buddhist Chan master in Vietnam. That people regard our teacher as the Chan master who really knows how to teach the Dharma. How interesting that far off Vietnam, they only know about our teacher through the efforts of DRBA Vietnamese translators. So we're going to hear about how that work is going forward. We're going to hear about BTTS Online, Buddhist Text Translation Society, which is our electronic distribution outlet, staffed by kind-hearted volunteers who have worked very long and hard on getting that work out. And we're going to hear about a brand new idea which has a lot of promise for distribution centers, book distribution centers. Now, make sure you don't leave early. You know, hang in, because that's going to happen probably around 4 o'clock. And that's maybe one of the most exciting new developments, is book distribution centers. Then we're going to hear about ebooks. Certainly in the future, there will be as many people who use their Kindle to read sutras as turn the pages of a paperback or a paper-bound book. So we're going to hear about that, and then we're going to give everybody a chance to sign up in various categories, ways that you can get involved. So let me mention to you finally, before I introduce our first speaker to get us going on our program, that we are distributing books here today outside the Patriarch's Hall. There's a book stand, and there's a special price, the discount today, as my friend used to say, a little under a nickel, which is to say free. Not a five-finger discount. That's different. Five-finger discount means you steal it. But we're giving them away. So it's a little under a nickel. It's free today. So please do stop by the book distribution table. It's right out in the back by the Patriarch's Hall. And let me say again, if you would like to hear today's proceedings in Chinese, we are ready to translate for you into Mandarin. You need an earphone. 各位朋友哈，各位佛友，如果你们想听中国话啊，那么我们现在有耳机分给你。没有耳机需要耳机的人请举手。都有了吗哈 ？Okay, good. And also the same in Vietnamese. If you would like a Vietnamese headset, please raise your hands. The important thing after this work is done, after the reports are given and all the excitement has been shared, is that people find a way to get involved. We want folks to feel like this is your work as well, because we are all volunteers. Nobody, I dare say, is getting rich on translating Buddhist texts. We all do it because, who knows, past vows, perhaps, is what Shifu said, why we come together. So if this is your work, if you come from San Jose, if you come from Fremont, if you come from Sacramento, or farther, if you come from Holland, if you come from Vietnam or Taiwan or Malaysia or China, wherever you come from, Latin America, Europe, we would like you to join the work. As I say, there's nobody in front, nobody behind. We're all standing side by side, facing the Buddha and facing our teacher as volunteers. So if you feel like this is something that you are moved by your heart to get involved in the work of bringing the Buddha's Dharma to the West and to the world, then please do find one of these volunteers who are walking around with sheets. How do we identify them? Who is there? Ken, you can't miss him. He's got the best-looking beard in the hall at the moment. And Ken is there with a clipboard, and he's very friendly. He's a very kind guy. And you can say, show me that sign-up sheet. I want to find out how to get involved. Is there anybody on the women's side also? How do we identify them? They're the invisible girls in the uniforms right now. I think they're coming in from the back. There they are. These are our volunteers. Girls coming in the back, there they are. They are going to help you sign up and find a way to get involved. And it might be something as simple as giving them your email address. That's all we have in mind, so you can be informed of what's going on. So, that being my part, I would like to invite everybody to look at the screen. And do we need to turn the lights off? I guess you guys are on top of that. We're going to have a film clip of Dharma Master Heng Sure, who is at the moment in Australia. But this is a clip recorded by our oral history project some time ago, talking about how things were back in the day.
BTTS started at the Buddhist Lecture Hall. Basically, after we came back from taking precepts, the 5 of us, 那个法尼经典委员会大概是1970年正式开始。那个是我们5个人从台湾回来，受具足戒之后。At that time, Shifu set up, it was just like he said, going to work. And every day we would come into the monastery and spend the day doing monastic things like a few ceremonies, but mostly translating. And it was Shifu's wish that we translate together. at the beginning. He also composed the 8 dharmas for the 8 rules for translators, and probably at that time wrote out some policies on BTS. So we began to work together, and I mean, there were 5 of us, and all American. And yet, we started with 6 Patriarch Sutra. But it wasn't easy, because we all had our own opinions. We all had our own reasons why this word was better than that word to translate some Chinese phrase or character. So there was discontent at the table. 那师父就是用很多方法，就好像哄小孩子，回来给我们说，那个时候周末老师都有几千个人一起翻译，都是很合作啊，就是在那儿决定讲3次就是了。然后我们有试一试也没办法。So Shifu would do all kinds of things to encourage us during that time. He'd come out and he'd tell stories about Great Master Kumarajiva and his thousands of monks and how they would sit down together to translate, and there wouldn't be any disagreement. Everybody would agree, they'd say it 3 times, and that was it. Still, we had difficulty. So I remember one day we came in, and we were working, and we got more and more rowdy about everybody had their own ideas, and suddenly there was a portrait of Dharma, portrait of a Master Shuyan on the wall, and it came crashing down in the middle of our argument. And the glass broke, and Shulao ended up down on the floor. And Shifu came out to talk to us, because of course he was hearing it, and he cried. At least tears ran down his face, and he said, okay, we can't do it as a group, we'll do it separately. So then Shifu said we would each have our own sutra, and so translation became, instead of simultaneous, it became sequential. And so he set up the 4 committees which exist to this day in BTTS. So after that, each of us got a sutra that we were going to translate, and then that would be the translation department. And then after I finished my translation, I gave it to someone who would review and look at the English and Chinese. And then after that person finished, my translation would go on to the editor, who would work on the English, and then finally to the certifier. At that time, the certifier was always Shifu. And so we began to have a process where he figured out how we would work together without sitting in the same room trying to make immediate decisions. So then there have been lots of changes in BTTS, and one of them came when this place was established in about 1993, 94, maybe a little earlier. And at that time, up till that time, you see, it had been almost 20 years, and we Americans had been translating, and we'd been translating and developing our ear. So we would listen to the tape, and besides having text written out so we would follow that, we would just listen to what Shifu said and sit there and type what he said from our ear. And then suddenly when this place came, Shifu changed the system, and he said, now that we have a lot of Chinese people come, let them first take my lectures off the tape and edit them and certify them. And when that Chinese manuscript is all certified, then the English department can take that and translate. Well, that was a bit of a shock to all of us, because I wasn't trained to look at modern spoken Chinese. Our eyes were trained for the sutra text, the classical text, but not that. Our ears were trained to listen to modern spoken Chinese. So there was a period that was difficult for those of us who were still training and who had started out early. Suddenly we had to shift the emphasis from our ears to our eyes, and we had to learn to read the Chinese, modern spoken Chinese that was in the scripts. And then another change has come over the years where it's really gone back to what Shifu had thought in the beginning, which was there have been committees over the last 20 years who sit down together and do the translation, as Shifu had asked us to do. and they seem to be able to pull off so that they can make their decision at the time. And that happened about 15 years ago with the Shurangama Sutra, and it's happening now with the Shurangama and with other sutra texts, where a group of people sit down and work it out together. So I think Shifu would be happy to know that that system is also now working. In the last 150 years in the West here, Buddhism has come in, but most of what's happening is about Buddhism. The books people write and the talks they give are modern interpretations of Buddhism. But very little that is published is Buddhism in the sense that it's the classical text that's come down through the ages, and then a commentary, the master's commentary, or perhaps another commentary from Ahai Sangha that stood the test of time. And although we're not popular, our distribution isn't much. We print our sutras and they distributed widely. People don't know to ask. I'm not worried about that because I think that it's a gradual process. And for the last 40 years, a lot of people have become interested in Buddhism and read about it, and they're starting to wonder what it is. In other words, let's get back to the basic sutra. What did the Buddha say? And at that point, people will begin to see how valuable the things that BTTS has produced are. BTTS can be trusted in terms of accuracy. Of course, none of us are perfect, but because we have 4 committees, I believe that when something is published by BTTS, that we can at least say, and people can know that we've done our best, that more than one person has handled it, and that the ideas of people in the committees were incorporated, that they were listened to, and if they could improve on what was done, that it was granted them.
The lights back on? Got the lights back on?
So that's looking backwards at the history of Buddhist Text Translation Society. And it's, I think, fascinating to know that one of those original translators, Dharma Master Heng Sure, is now the well-respected and much-read Kalavinka Press. So Heng Sure Fa Shi got his start at the same time. Dharma Master Sure, as we know, is the translator of many of the texts from BTTS that are been published and circulated, and she continues to be an inspiration. And some of the lay people who are here today, who we'll hear from also, who were there at the very beginning, are still actively involved in a daily way, vigorously involved in carrying forward this work. So clearly the seeds that Shifu planted back at the very beginning have not only taken root and sprouted flowers, but they're bearing fruit as well. So number 2 is celebrating the successes, where we've come since those earliest days, where the 8 guidelines, the 8 rules for translators, and the 4 committees were established, modified, and reworked. What have we done since then? And what is going forward today? What have we translated? What is in progress? And what is on the stove cooking for the future? Dharma Master Heng Yin is going to be our first speaker to talk about the Buddha's words, and she has all the facts and figures about the projects. Then we're going to turn to David Rounds and James Roberts, who are going to present something fascinating that is frequently overlooked when you talk about translating Buddhist text, the Dharma, which is what? Ceremonies, liturgy, words the Buddha spoke that are not simply talked about or spoken orally, but are given with music, with wooden fishes and bells. So what is the state of our ceremonies? Certainly, from the very beginning, Master Hua encouraged us to 赶快, he said, translate those ceremonies into melodies, into rhythms, into musical modes that Westerners can approach. And by and large, to this day, it's been hit or miss. We haven't really haven't taken Shifu's instructions, and not unwilling, but it's not easy to do. So here will be two individuals who have taken up that work and who are going to present some of the sounds of the current liturgy translation project. Then Dharma Master Jinro is going to talk about Buddha's words for children, young people's books. Very important part of our publication effort is bringing pictures and stories out. Dharma Master Jinro has been doing that work for years now and has had quite a few successes. So I'd like to now introduce Dharma Master Heng Yin, Bhikshuni Heng Yin.
Okay. I'm going to report very, very quickly on the ongoing projects of the Chinese department, the Vietnamese, English, Spanish, and other European languages departments. And since there is a lot of information and a lot of slides, we're going to go very quickly, so everyone hopefully will stay very attentive. So we're going to start with the Chinese department because they are the ones in Taiwan who lead, who compile all of the Chinese source material for the translations to use. And also this is where most of the printing of all BTTS happens. They have done a lot of work, and they are led by Dharma Master Han Yuing. She compiled this report. So what do I need to do? It's on. Do I need to hit Shift F3? So basically, she's going to be giving a report on ongoing projects and also on distribution and briefly on what is happening in China as well. F5? Functional 5. Well, this. Pardon? Okay, you can try it there. I don't know if it's. Well, we could start with that one. It's the other one. Okay, so could you go to the next slide? Okay, next slide. So we're going to just go through really quickly. These are the current projects. For example, Avatamsaka Sutra with phonetics. Keep going. Some of the new translations, Song of the Skin Bag, which is Master Xu Ying's poem, and the Vinaya for the novice monks. Next. Biographical commentaries by the Venerable Master. The Dharma, 100 Days of Chan talks given by the Master. 100 Days of Chan, 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 100 This is the 4th and 5th volumes of the vegetarian recipes. One of the pictures from inside the recipe book. A book for children on moving peace. Helping Malaysia to print the Emperor Liang sentence in Chinese with phonetics. This is the first ebook coming out and bilingually. It's a master's talk on abortion. So that's the inside. You can see flipping pages on the computer. And these are books they plan to publish this year. The master's biography in Hong Kong and a new edition of the Conduct and Vows. And plans for the next 3 years. And they will explain more about some of these things in the coming slides. So first of all was the tsunami in Japan caused a great loss in Fujifilm, which decided not to produce printing plates, and they're going to go digital. And that means that all of the printing plates that were produced for BTTS books in the past need to be redone. So there's a lot of work in layout and redesign for Taiwan to do. And there's many books that are also out of stock that are being relaid out and reprinted. These are a list of them. And also, based on the needs of people and what's happening in society, they are compiling some new books to put out. For example, because there are so many disasters nowadays, they're compiling Venerable Master's talks about how Guanyin Bodhisattva can rescue beings from difficulty and why disasters occur. And then the Great Master Shifa has a commentary, Guanding commentary on the Shurangama mantra, and was referenced by the Venerable Master in his verses and commentary on the Shurangama mantra. So, next. So Dharma Master Sure has one of the only 200 copies which are original, and so we are going to publish that. Okay. Yes. Sutra. So it's a very big undertaking, and the team is working on this commentary, which will be very valuable for English readers, or sorry, Chinese readers, and then we'll later maybe translate it. Okay, now it's going to publication in China. These are the things that have been published in simplified Chinese for readers in China. And that will be published this coming year in simplified Chinese, or bilingually. And then distribution in Taiwan and also globally, Chinese books. So they're ranked as #1 in the Beijing Publishing Company. And Madalena, who is going to speak later, is going to share more about that. There's some of the books published in China, or the catalog. Okay. And also, there's distribution in various places. We'll see a list of some of the libraries that our books are sent to regularly, such as all of these different universities in Taiwan, and other education libraries, and monasteries. That's okay. Okay, and then there's also the online bookstore, which has readers and purchasers from around the world. Okay, that's it. Then for the next one, sorry. Can you please, I think yours is missing. So can you move the one in here? So now we're going to go to the Vietnamese department. They have published 30 books and 13 CDs, which are all available at PTS Online. These are, and then we're going through a list of some publications there, revising the first translation that came out, and other 7 books in the primary translation phase, and the review and edit phase. And then this is the team of translators. You can see there are members from all four assemblies. And the long-term goal, according to Dharma Master Heng Sure, who is the coordinator for Vietnamese, is to translate all of the 3 major sutras that the Master lectured on. And they need volunteers for translating from Chinese or English, reviewing, editing, polishing, and layout using InDesign. So you can contact him, or you can sign up on one of our sign-up sheets to help with the Vietnamese translation. Next, we're going to English translation projects, and the first one that's happening right now is the Avatamsaka Sutra translation project led by Dharma Master Sure. It meets weekly at CTTB and also online, and this is the plenary group that's starting to retranslate the chapter 1, starting from the beginning of the sutra. So everyone is welcome to join. It is a really good experience to learn how to translate. And then there are 3 subgroups that are also ongoing that formed as a result of the plenary group. So another group is working on chapter 25, the 10 transferences, coordinated by Dharma Master E. And then another group led by Dharma Master Jing Yong and David Rounds is working on chapter 39. And finally, there's the Chinese subgroup that helps to do Chinese research and support the other translation groups, led by Dharma Master Fan. And all of these groups are meeting weekly at CTTB and also online. Then there's also another ongoing effort to finish translating the Avatamsaka Sutra commentary, the remaining chapters. In the 1980s, there were 15 chapters translated, and then 2004, there have been 9 more chapters, and there are 16 chapters to go. Some of the larger ones, like 10 grounds, we have being worked on, and the prologue as well. And we hope to finish translating all the commentaries by 2020, if possible. So we do also welcome help, especially with editing and the final stages of preparation, which are more tedious. Okay. There's several other sutras that are being translated in the group process, such as the Sutra of Golden Light at Sage Monastery with Dharma Master Sure. The entire assembly participates. And another group has been translating the names of the Buddha Sutras, which is used for the 10,000 Buddhas repentance. And 8 rolls have been translated so far. Many people are involved in that. Dharma Master E is leading a revised translation for the Lotus Sutra, and Trifasa is certifying a more accurate and full translation of the Earth Store Sutra's commentary. And there are several things that have been translated for the sake of monastic training, such as the above here. And quite a few other Shurangama mantra verses. Mr. Rounds is versifying it into more poetic form, and then we're continuing to work on the biography, translating from the Chinese, and Dharma Master Heng Sure's talks is a group translation process at Berkeley Monastery. And there are several other things that are in the works as well. You can see a lot of them are biographical. The Master's commentaries on the lives of the patriarchs and so forth. And there are several other things that are also in the works, repentances, and commentaries or shastras. Okay. So now we're going to go to Spanish. 10 books have already been published. These are listed here. The latest one is the Chan Handbook. Then there's many sutras that are in the pipeline. Some are in the primary translation phase. Many of them are sutras and Dharma talks and High Sangha and biographies. And then there are many there's one which is being reviewed and edited. And then the next 18 are those waiting for review, edit, meaning we need people who with good Spanish and who also know English or Chinese help review to make sure the translation is accurate and also to edit it to make sure the Spanish is fluent. So these are many of them are sutras, and then the next page has also a lot of commentaries and sutras. So we hope that more people can help with the Spanish. Then we'll have a lot more publications coming out. And also there are many that are just already finalized but waiting for a layout, which is also a very labor-intensive part of the publication process. Okay. So the Spanish department, which is led by Jing Shi, up here next in the front row, and also Han Shi is still giving her guidance. There are still many of our BTTS sutras, commentaries, Dharma talks, and so forth waiting to be translated and published for a Spanish-speaking audience. And the goal is to publish at least one book every year, and also to a new edition of the Amitabha Sutra, which was one of the very earliest translations, and apparently the Spanish is not that good. So we need volunteers in all the different parts of the translation and publication process, including distribution and website. And here's just a recent thing that happened. Professor Miguel Polo of University of San Marcos in Lima, Peru, just gave a talk on Buddhism 3 days ago, and Eileen Hu was there and delivered the Avatamsaka Sutra and various other BTTS translations to him. He is very interested in us and likes to use our books in his classes. And so you can see that the girl there is holding one of our books, the Legend of Mahadutta, and then there's 2 books on the shelves that are also BTTS translations back there. And he's also planning to come visit CTTB this winter with his family. So if you're interested in helping out with the translation effort for Spanish, please contact BTTS volunteers, and then we will put you in touch with Jing Shi. Okay. French has been moving a little more slowly. There are 2 books published and one that is nearly done, but we do need a lot more support for that. And Polish, actually there's a of sincere lay people there who have been working to translate, review, and edit on their own. They cannot certify it themselves, but they have been, allowed to go ahead and publish just so that the works can get out. So these are the works that have been published or are in progress. And Italian, there's one book, and apparently Dajing Shi, our Italian Dharma master who translated this first book, is interested in translating more. And German, there's also one book that is ready to lay out, so we need that. These are the sutras that have an initial rough translation in Dutch. I've probably still need some editing and review, but at least they are out there in a rough form. And then lastly, we will hear later from Jing Shi, who is publishing children's books of the Venerable Master's teachings and the Dharma. And these are the list of books that have been published or are soon coming out. And to close, we just show some of the websites in the different languages for DRBA that people can access. So I've completed my part of the presentation. So next is Mr. Rounds and Mr. Roberts for the liturgy. Oh, right. If you wanted to sign up, sign up on the clipboard or go to bttsvolunteers@gmail.com.
Here we are. The Master was always after us to translate the liturgy. And it wasn't easy to do, we found, and so we were only able to do some of it. There was a monk here, no longer here, who did the morning ceremony. But beyond that, there hasn't been a whole lot. And recently, we've started up again because we have a couple of young people who are very keen to do it. We had an interesting experience in Buddha Farm last week. Was it only last week? We were there, and we did the whole evening ceremony in English. And afterward, Sarah Babcock came up to me. And Sarah Babcock is a woman in her 30s who grew up at Wanfucheng, went to our schools, has always been a faithful Buddhist, and she said, "This is the first time that I've really understood the repentance in the 88 Buddhas," and I cried. And I understand from James that there were some other people who had the same response. You want to comment on that?
So we've been doing the evening ceremony in English on Sundays in Berkeley also, which I think it's probably the first time that anyone's done these ceremonies completely in English before. So it's really exciting, and a few people have said to me that for various parts of the ceremony, it's the first time that they really understood what was sort of what it meant in a new way. And I think David and I were talking about this earlier. A big reason for that is that a lot of the meaning of the ceremonies is carried through in the verse and in the music. So when someone actually does the ceremony in their own language, it carries a meaning with it that isn't clear just by reading, or just by reading a translation in another language, or doing the ceremony in a language that you didn't grow up speaking. So one thing we wanted to do was demonstrate some of the verses that we've translated and how we've been chanting them in English. Did you want to say something before that?
I think that, because music is beyond words, it's probably better to hear the music, since that way we can know more about how it pulls us all together with the same kind of feeling. That's what music can do. So you go start with the Mangshan, the new Mangshan. You want to explain how we're going to present that?
Sure. So do I need to switch something, or can you switch to this screen? So these are the Chinese verses, and we took out the mantras because there are a lot of people speaking, so we don't want to spend 20 minutes. But just wanted to recite the English verses so that people can hear what the verses sound like chanted. Do you have a starting pitch? Yep.
Let me find the... where is it? I got it. Yeah. Can you start off, and I'll chime in when I find
Wishing now to understand all the Buddhas of the three times, contemplate the Dharma realm. All things are created from mind. Namo Buddha's flower garland sutra of great expanded teachings. Namo Buddhas of the 10 directions dwelling for all time. Namo Dharma of the 10 directions dwelling for all time. Namo Sangha of the 10 directions dwelling for all time. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, founding teacher of us all. Namo Bodhisattva of compassion, Guan Yin. Namo Earth Store Bodhisattva, who rescues those alive and dead. Namo Honored One Ananda, who stated all the teachings. We take refuge with the Buddha. We take refuge with the Dharma. We take refuge with the Sangha. We take refuge with the Buddha, honored as the doubly perfect one. We take refuge with the Dharma, honored, teaching us to end desire. We take refuge with the Sangha, honored among every being. Now we've taken refuge with the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. Buddhist karma done by body, speech, and mind, through their craving, anger, and delusion from beginningless time. Buddhists now repent of all of this. Countless beings I now vow to save. Limitless afflictions I now vow to end. Boundless dharmas I now vow to learn. Peerless Buddhahood I vow to realize. Beings of my nature I now vow to save. All afflictions of my nature I now vow to end. Dharmas of my nature I now vow to learn. Buddhahood my nature I now vow to realize. Namo many jewels Tathagata. Namo peerless jewel Tathagata. Namo wondrous form Tathagata. Namo vast expansive form Tathagata. Namo far from fear Tathagata. Namo sweet to King Tathagata. Namo Amita Tathagata. May these mantras bless the purest Dharma food, given to all Buddhists, many as the Ganges sends. May they be content, renouncing all their greed, swiftly leaving darkness, born in the pure land, taking refuge with the three jewels, bringing forth the Bodhi mind, ultimately realizing unsurpassed awakening. May their merit and their virtue be unbounded for all time, sharing with all Buddhists offerings of Dharma food. And we wanted to do the verse from the 88 Buddhist Repentance also.
We're going to do the final section. As our master warned us, we only had 8 minutes, so. Okay. Yeah, we're going to do the actual repentance and transference at the end of the 88 Buddhist section. This setting of the 88 Buddhist repentance is actually in the same tune as we've always done it in Chinese. But the English is boiled down and made to fit the beat of the Chinese tune, and so that everybody can learn it very quickly because we already know the tune. Let me give you an E there. That's where we're going to start.
Pure in body, speech, and mind, to the Buddhas here I bow. With Samantabhadra's vows I appear before them all. Send my body everywhere, bow to Buddhas numberless, dwelling in each speck of dust, Bodhisattvas gathered there. I sing praises to them all, everywhere and for all time. My words fill the universe to the ends of future time. praising all the virtuous ones, giving splendid flowers sweet. To the Buddhas I now give, to the Buddhas I now give, clothing rich and incense fine, lamps and candles piled high, fragrances and canopies I give to the thus come ones. Now my mind is free and still, and my Buddhist faith is strong. With Samantabhadra's vows I now make these offerings, for all evil deeds I've done, all arising from desire, anger and illusion too, done with body, speech, and mind. I look back and I feel shame, and I now reform them all. All the Buddhas I now praise, Bodhisattvas, Arhats too, and all beings everywhere, for the merit they have done. May the great lights of the world, they who've won enlightenment, may they turn the Dharma wheel, and Nirvana still postpone, ever dwelling in the world to bring joy to every being. All the merit I have earned from the praises I have sung, from the offerings I have made, from applauding all good deeds, from repenting of my faults, from reforming how I act. All this merit I transfer to all beings' enlightenment. May this merit unsurpassed to the Buddhas be transferred throughout all the universe, form and nature fused in one, known beneath Samadhi's seal, seas of merit infinite. My transference I've now made, may the burdens of all beings, due to body, speech, and mind, slander and deluded views, grasping objects and the self, may that karma be erased. May I gain to rescue beings wisdom inexhaustible, so they'll never leave the path, sure to reach enlightenment. This transference will not end till space, karma, pain, and beings, though they're inexhaustible, have themselves come to an end. Namo Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, Namo Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, Namo Bodhisattva Samantabhadra. So that's our presentation, and I think next, Dharma Master Heng Sure to speak about her work translating books for children.
Kind Monk is Stories of the Master, written especially for children. Next slide. It is illustrated by Wang Ying-song from China and designed by Cynthia Kundasari at the City. And is published by Instilling Goodness Books, whose aim is to bring understanding of Buddhism to all children in the world in all their languages. Next slide. Now I have the pleasure to show you a few pictures and to read a story. It begins with the birth of the Master when Amitabha Buddha appeared in the world shining light. Next slide. There are stories of the Master's childhood, working on the farm. Next slide. Now I'll tell you a story about the Master riding wild horses. One by one, each boy takes his turn, using a whip. and one by one, the horse throws them off like hot coals. Yushu, that's the master's birth name, says, "Let me ride." Walking slowly up to the horse, he clucks softly. The horse snorts and stands perfectly still. Twisting his fingers in its long mane, Yushu swings up onto its back. The wild barking that everyone is waiting for never comes. Yushu eases the horse into a slow walk and out into the pasture. Soon they are galloping at full speed. To everyone's surprise, Yushu stands up on the horse's back and spreads his arms out like wings. The crowd cheers and hoots. Reining the horse in, Yushu lifts off his back and hands the reins to the owner. "This is a fine horse," he says. "Treat him well and never use a whip on him." Okay, next slide. And this is a master bowing to his parents. Next slide. And this is the beginning of a free school for children in China. Next slide. This is a master sitting by his mother's grave. Next slide. And this is the master walking in snow. It is a cold, icy, and miserable day. The other monks warn him, but one monk, bigger and stronger than the master, pulls off his shoes and socks. "If Mosquito Monk can go barefoot in the snow, so can I," he says. Rubbing his hands together with glee, he stamps out the icy snow. Then he stops dead, and he gives a little hop, then another little hop, and then a great whopping hop back to the porch. "Aye," he says. No one could keep from laughing. He says to the master, "How can you bear the cold?" And the master smiles and says, "I don't wear warm clothes, so I don't get cold." Okay, next slide. This is a master traveling with the dragons always following him. Next slide. And this is a master bowing to the noble empty cloud. By the way, the sash is brown. This is just color imprinting. I'll go on to the next slide. This is a master in Western Bliss Gardens in Hong Kong, giving refuge to a duck. Next slide. And this is a master in Lantua Island, sculpting the dragon. Next slide. And this is a master coming to America. I'll end with one short story. You can go to the next slide. Next, okay. The master moves out of Chinatown into a flat on Waverly Place. The first day of moving in, windows open and pale faces with blue eyes peer down at him. "Who are they?" the master asked the owner. "Students." "Oh, I like students," says the master, and tacks a note on his door. "Meditation, 7 p.m. That night at 7 o'clock p.m., he hears a rap on the door. "Hey, I want to learn meditation," says a student wearing a plaid shirt and blue jeans. "I'm studying Chinese," says another. She wears a flower in her hair. "Come on in," the master says. "It's cold. There's no heat, but you're welcome. I teach you vegetarian cooking. You like it?" "We sure would." The master's first American disciples have arrived. Now, it would take a giant book to describe all the adventures the master had with those first disciples, for he had many, but that would just have to be another book. Thank you.
We're moving right along to publications of periodicals. And as I said earlier, Master Shenhua valued periodicals, that is to say, magazines. His first journal in Hong Kong was called Xin Fa, maybe Mind Dharma or Dharma from the Mind or Dharma on the Mind. And when he got to America, one of the very first things, priority, that the master did was publish Vajrabodhi. And he valued that magazine strongly. There are so many stories about Vajrabodhi itself, and of course, all of the content we could go into, but just the magazine itself. For example, Master Hua put a mantra on the cover of Vajrabodhi, and he also had an illustration. And he said that the mantra and the illustration on the cover of the monthly magazine was responsible for keeping the dragons, the demons, the negative forces that were out to harm not just the Dharma, but also San Francisco and California and the world. It kept them at bay. It established a perimeter around good people to prevent disasters from happening and to quell the demons. Now, how powerful is that? Honestly, who can imagine? We don't know, but this is the realm that Shifu gave periodicals. Not simple at all. Very important, and much more than we know. So, from that time, our publication, Vajrabodhi, has progressively emerged month after month after month to the current issue being number 507. So that may be one of the longest running periodicals in print. And I also want to point out one really important fact is that it wasn't originally bilingual. It was originally in English only. But Vajrabodhi has from, I forget which issue it began, but it's been bilingual. It's been English and Chinese, and the translation is done very seriously, with great care. And if you look around the world, there aren't many periodicals that take as their editorial platform bilingual, and of course bicultural, and of course introducing the Dharma as well, so it's religious and spiritual. So I know there was a magazine coming out of Taiwan called Guanghua for a long time, and Guanghua was a publication of the government in Taiwan, and it was a wonderful magazine. I enjoyed it every month, but it was 2 languages, and they had excellent English translators and translations. They took a lot of care with it. And I lamented when Guanghua kind of changed for various reasons. Maybe they didn't get their budget. But when Guanghua stopped coming out the way it was, I think it may be the only other completely bilingual magazine that really values 2 languages for every article. So look at that, the force for harmony between East and West that Vajrabodhi represents, beyond the fact that it's teaching the Dharma and presenting the sutras and lives of the patriarchs and news of the Dharma realm and vegetarian recipes and so much more. At the same time, it allows the East to meet the West in a peaceful way with mutual respect and real care from the heart. So let's talk. We'd like to introduce Dharma Master Jin Sang, who is the current editor, and she'll talk about all the other hands that go into producing Vajrabodhi, and also talking about its history, some of the instructions that we have around it, and some possibilities for the future. So Jin Sang Sure, it's all yours.
Okay, I just read some slides just now, and there's a department says that their goal is that at least publish 1 book each year. I hope that could be my schedule one day. My schedule is public 1 issue every month. So, but even though the page of this magazine are not have so many pages like any BTTS publications, but every articles of this magazines go through all the same procedures of the translations, review, and edit. So we didn't save any effort for each articles of this magazine. yeah, just because this magazine. No, we never just save our effort. So now I just do a quick review of the 42 years. Oh, sorry, I did a typo. So this magazine was published in 1970 April. So from the first issue to 99, that's only English. And at that time, the magazine is called the Vajrabodhi. Yeah, originally, I would like to lead everybody to our online VBS. I don't know whether we can go now or not. Yeah, I paste the link over there. So many people suggest that we can publish this magazine online. So we started this job a couple years ago, but it's not the real ebook. Just scan the pages or just publish the PDF. So this we call the Vajrabodhi Gallery. We scan every page from the first issues to the current one. So that's the very first issue. So at that time, with all English, okay, you can do a quick review, or you can go online by yourself. It's at DRBA and start from the issue 100, number 100. We start to publish two languages. It's English and Chinese, but they have a two different editor staff. So the English one is called Vajrabodhi, and the Chinese is called Wanfo Cheng Kan. And they publish different articles. And then you see the galleries. So the articles are not match each other. So English people read the English and Chinese people read those Chinese articles. And starting from about like 1992, May, we start to do the English and Chinese side by side, just like the one you read nowadays. Just English and Chinese, yeah, so match each other's until now. And then the magazine's name is called the Wanfo Cheng Jingdang Puti Hai, the Vajrabodhi Sea. Okay, so and Dharma Master Shi also mentioned something about our the magazine cover design. So I can just show you some information, or that's Shifu's vow or Shifu's expectations to this magazine. Shifu called the 万佛城月刊，真真实实万佛刊，真实报道简，醒兼贪，无花无叶不住，指望众生不倒颠。So this is a brief translation. A translation is say that true and actual, the journal of Southern Buddha, faithfully reports to awake the greedy and stingy. No flower, no leaves. It's the Bodhi tree. We only wish the living beings not inverted. So you can see Shifu's goal and Shifu's mission to publish this magazine. And you can see the English, why we call the Vajrabodhi Sea. Yeah, just like the first magazine Shifu called the Xingfa, Xing mind. So we can the Bodhi Sea correspond to the mind, and the Vajra correspond to the Dharma. We publish the Dharma as indestructible as the Vajra in this magazine. Okay, so this is the 5 colors. We keep rotating the 5 colors in our designs, and where the 5 colors from is from the 5 elements. So we cannot miss the sequence of the colors because it produces kind of a sequence of productions. So Shifu used the 5 colors. Each one produces the others. Every month by month, we try to keep and maintain and produce the proper energies in this world. So we cannot mess up the 5 colors. And the next one is, you can see, besides the color, we also use the Sanskrit. And the Sanskrit is the
the mantra ha of Shurangama mantra, the Zhou Xing. There are 34 syllables of the mantra ha. We rotate each one century, month after month. And we also know that the function of the Shurangama mantra is just to maintain the proper energy of this world. So in the 48 pages, we include those columns. Okay, proper Dharma seal, biographies, Dharma talk, Dharma reign, and the focus on education, and the Bodhi field, and news from Dharma realm. So the first three occupy the half of the 48, and the last three occupy the last 24 pages. Okay, yeah, but the Bodhi field, the column of Bodhi field, cover many different articles. It came from the very academic articles, like the professor in the Peru. Yeah, we just heard in the slide. The professor contributing articles to Vajrabodhi recently. That's very academic, but we still think that good to publish in Vajrabodhi. And some people just contribute their personal experience of practicing dharmas. Then we also welcome those kind of articles. Okay, so the article, the original language of the articles is different. Some may be in Chinese or English. Then we the translation afterward. Okay, so the news from Dharma Run is kind of a report of our organization. Okay, next one. Okay, so I list some links so people can read the BBS online. And talking about the futures, people suggest to do the real e-books. And I just recently from the volunteers who do the layout for us, he said that, our Dharma master, you know, the e-book is not as simple as you think, because the layout of the e-book is totally different from the traditional print magazines. It means that every month, if we want to publish the print magazine and also e-books, we have to do 2 different layouts. So that would be a very challenging for your printing schedule. But we still want to try it. Yeah, so people can read the magazine, read the BBS on the iPad or the Kindles. Yeah. Okay, and then how can you subscribe to the magazine? Order online, like btpsonline.org or from our branches monastery. So that's all.
Thank you, Dharma Master Jinsang, for that report on Vajrabodhi. It will continue, certainly. Whether it will transform into both paper and electronic, I think will depend a lot on the strength that comes from people sitting in this room, perhaps, who would come forward and say, this work is really worth my time. This is worth my effort. I would like to carry this work forward. This is my work to do. And I might say, if it doesn't come from this room and the people who are listening to this, then maybe it won't happen. So it's really, really up to us. Shifu gave us these jewels, put them in our hands, stuffed our backpacks full, and said, there's the road. So if you walk it, it's up to you. They say, 师父领进门，修行在个人. The teacher leads you to the door. Whether or not you enter is up to us. Whether or not we walk in is entirely up to us. So the next section in our program, and we're halfway through now, is talking about the training of translators. And as Dharma Master Sure said in their opening video, we all started, those early folks started not speaking Chinese. We all learned Chinese as a second language. And there are some Chinese folks who would tell you that spoken Chinese that you learned at home, be it Cantonese or Taiwanese or Mandarin, is very different again from the Chinese that you encounter in the sutras. So what is required to translate sutras? And our teacher was unorthodox. He was a reformer. He did not hesitate to criticize the way things were done in China regarding the translation of texts. And these are stories that we've heard a lot, but I think there might be some young folks here who have not heard these, so they're worth repeating, which is Master Hsuan Hua always praised the Catholics' and Christians' approach to the Bible, which is to translate it into the world's languages and then put it in people's hands. If you have gone to a hotel far away and at night you open the drawer of the desk, the bedside table, there's a really good chance that you'll find a Bible in the local language. The New Testament and the Old Testament translated by who? By the followers of Jesus, who said, I want people to read the Bible in the local language. That's true around the world. Now let me ask you, how many times have you opened that drawer in the table by your bed in the hotel and found the Diamond Sutra? Maybe it wasn't the diamond, you found the Amitabha Sutra, right? Chances are you didn't. Now, we need to say that the Numata Foundation, following the compassionate vows of an industrialist named Yehan Numata, have put out the Gideon Bible for Buddhists. It's called the Buddhist Teachings, and it's available in certain hotels, and that's a praiseworthy work. Mr. Numata gave lots of his money. He was an industrialist who made precision instruments. He made very fine gears and things like that. Made a lot of money, and made a vow to create the equivalent of the Gideon Bible. My only critique of it is that he cut and pasted. There are snips of the Buddha's wisdom, which I'm sure by his lights is better than having a full sutra. Our understanding is that you want to keep the sutra together instead of cutting it apart. But the teachings of the Buddha is a good first step. But Master Hua's point is to say that the Chinese did not take it as a priority to spread the words of the Buddha beyond China. He said they were content to keep it in Chinese. And his vow was to come to the West, to bring the sutras to the rest of the world, because they're full of wisdom, they're full of compassion, they're full of instructions for how to be good people and sages. The problem is Master Hsuan Hua didn't speak Western languages, so he had to find people who could help him. And he did that. Today's meeting is a testimony to that. But what does it take to translate the Buddhist sutras? And when I say that our teacher was a reformer, that he was critical of the Buddhist tradition in China, as someone who, I'll speak personally, somebody who had been studying Chinese but had never tried to translate a sutra, I was completely ignorant of what you might call the cultural baggage in Asia surrounding sutras. I didn't know some of the ideas that had grown up around the Buddha's teachings over 14, 15, 1600 years, even longer. Some of those teachings say things like, what? Believe it or not, they say, oh, don't lecture on sutras. 不要讲经. Too dangerous. Really dangerous. You explain one word wrong, you fall into the hells. Did you know that? Did you realize that every time you explain sutras, you're risking your body and your life and your soul? I didn't know that, because I didn't grow up in a country where people were kind of maybe tired of lecturing on sutras and wanted to discourage people from opening the text. So they made a rule like that. What do we call those? We call those 莫名其妙的规矩. Right? Incredible rules, like non-rules. But there they were. There are others. There's another rule that says, don't lecture on sutras because you can't understand them. They're full of Sanskrit. It's not really Chinese. So don't even try, right? There's another one that says, oh, the Avatamsaka Sutra, don't lecture on that. It's just the Buddhist philosophy. Nobody can understand it, so don't try. So here we have a teacher who, in the midst of these crazy rules, 莫名其妙的规矩, rules that came out from outer space, he said, I'm going to sweep all that aside. I'm going to put my palms together before the Buddhist texts, respectfully open them up, and then try my best to use my wisdom to hear the Buddha's voice. If you would like to do that with me, please come along and let's do it together. Ask questions. Don't be afraid. Understand that the Avatamsaka Sutra is talking about the beating heart of a bodhisattva, the softest heart in the world. The kindest human being in the world is a bodhisattva, an awakened being. It's not philosophy. There are philosophical elements, but when the Avatamsaka Sutra says, these living beings are suffering, I have to find a way to end their pain. How will I do it? I need the Dharma. I'll give everything for a single sentence of Dharma. That's not philosophical. That's heart. That's moving compassion. So that's what I found in the Avatamsaka Sutra, and if I'd been following the cultural baggage of the Asian Buddhist perspective, I never would have touched it. Why? I can't understand it as philosophy, right? That's not my experience, only because Shifu opened those texts and said, you use your wisdom. What are you reading? What are you hearing? Does that sound like Dharma you can use to recognize yourself? I think so. So that was the attitude that we started with. So, training translators. What do we need? We need someone who wants to find out, actually, what did the Buddha say? Can I understand him? Did the Buddha talk to me? Was he talking to me? How do I know? Well, first thing, open it. Open the text. Read it. Treat it as advice from a kind and wise uncle, grandpa, or mom, right? And look at it with that attitude. See what it says to you. Understand what you're feeling. So this is the approach that our teacher took. And if you didn't speak excellent Chinese, go ahead and try. Try a sentence. If you know one part, translate one part. If you know 3 parts, translate 3 parts. And over time, you'll be doing it with friends who know a little more than you, and you might be good at looking up Sanskrit. You might be good at turning a good English phrase. Everybody brings their different tools together. So please, as we talk about, I'm done with my part, but as we talk about training translators, understand that nobody begins at the top. We're all learning. It's an ongoing process. And it's truly collaborative. We all take our own skills, our own talents, our own understanding, and contribute it, share it, so that together we can evolve an understanding of what the Buddha actually said. That's our approach. Now, that's just a bit kind of the tops of the waves. To give you some of the details about how we are training translators in the boys' school here at City of 10,000 Buddhists, I'm going to introduce our Master Jin Yan to you, who is translating the Avatamsaka Sutra, and you saw some of the works that have his name connected to the translations, but he does this work every day online around the world. So let's welcome our Master Jin Yan to share his knowledge about training translators in the boys' school. Blank. Okay.
我今天就先从中文开始讲起。那么，先跟大家分享一首诗。我讲中文的时候会现场同步翻译英文吗 ？OK， 那我先讲完中文再。 Oh, okay. That's how I prepare. So I will start with Chinese. Here is a poem by Cao Cao, actually, and I think that the topic I'm trying to discuss with everybody here is how we spot the talent and developing the talent. And what I'm suggesting we do is we do the work of Buddha. You start from Cao Cao's poem I recite in Chinese. 对酒当歌，人生几何？譬如朝露，七日苦多。开当以康，忧思难忘。何以解忧，唯有杜康。青青子衿，悠悠我心。但为今故，沉吟至今。悠悠鹿鸣，食野之苹。我有嘉宾，鼓瑟吹笙。明明如夜，何时可辍？忧从中来，不可断绝。夜幕渡迁，汪用相存。七阔谈宴，心念旧恩。夜明星稀，无且难挥。绕树山楂，何枝可依？山不厌高，海不厌深。周公吐哺，天下归心。大家可能会觉得很奇怪，今天是讲纯年 translator 怎么会练曹操的这个诗呢？有没有人可以猜一猜？可以，好。好，那我就练完再自己传。So, 曹操，我先讲，可能时间要赶，我要讲快一点。那么就是曹操当时做这首诗的时候，就已经他是带领他的100万大军准备要渡江，去进攻东吴，还有刘备他们。所以那个时候他的军事势力已经达到一个顶峰的一点。所以他那个时候人是很容易骄傲，不过他确实也是有骄傲，不然的话他不会有赤壁之败。但是他在即便是这么骄傲的情况之下，他写这首诗的时候，都还表达了对天下那种有才的人士、贤才的人士深深的渴望，说他们能够你来我的帐下来帮我服务，我们一起来打天下，好不好？所以他的主要的是在说：青青子衿，悠悠我心。但为今故，沉吟至今。我为了你们呢，我是掏出这个心来。然后呢，我虽然没有办法去找你们，但是你们可以主动来我这边帮我服务。那么他其实是借用这首《诗经》里面的这首诗，本来是比较浪漫的这种情诗，他拿来写这种题材。那么可见曹操这一生他能够有所成就，主要是很主要的一个因素，他帐幕下有很多的文臣武将云集在他底下，能够帮他一起做事。那么我们 BTTS 呢，我们可以写他的一点是，我们是不是真的有那个求贤若渴这样一颗心呢？去物色人才，去善用人才呢？这是我们可以考虑的一点。那么这是我在讲我们 Boys School 的那个 project 之前的一个总的一个理念。The poem was composed by Cao Cao, and he was at the zenith of his might before he crossed over the Yangtze River to conquer the Dongwu of Sun Quan and conquer Liu Bei. So he was becoming more and more elegant. However elegant he was, he still remained keeping a sincere heart, trying to invite more talents to having them working under him, so they can together conquer and unify China. So here in the line he say, although I couldn't go to Fanqiu, 青青子衿，悠悠我心. Here I have a sincere heart. It's for your sake I'm reciting and chanting this poem to nowadays. So here is a principle I'm trying to share, is that he is very sincere, very humble in inviting the talent to come working together. And for BTTS, do we have such enthusiasm to reach out, to invite people to come and work, or just simply say, here, please come and sign up and for the volunteers forms? I think our outreach could be more, should be finding more channels to spotting the talents and trying to developing the talents, and we can work from there. So 曹操他有下一个求贤令嘛，所以他是讲说求贤若渴 ，seeking the talent as if a person search for water。那我们就简单回到那个南校的几个翻译的一个项目，So we will come back to share some projects of translation I have done in the boys' school. I was teaching Chinese, especially teaching Chinese AP. Thus, I have a chance to assign students translation projects, making them a part of their requirement in order to graduate from my class. By doing that, actually they learn languages, they learn the moral lessons, they are also immersed in cultures. It's a approach for education. So my conviction or belief is that our translation can and should involve younger generations. So by so doing, not only will we have a far-reaching impact on their life, but we also increase the number of recruits into our translation task force. 我们的 translation task force， 我们的翻译队伍呢，其实是多多益善，能够从众人越多的之中，能够发掘越来越多的人才，能够真正的成就人才、造就人才，这才是我们 BTTS 能够真正崛起于这个世界，让世界瞩目的一个方向。I deeply believe that spotting talent and developing talent should be the fundamental strategy or priority of BTTS. In 2007, I started the first project of Xiaojing in Chinese AP class with six students. Because I don't have a chance to publicly acknowledge their efforts and time, so here I'm taking this opportunity to thank every person that I have involved them. 那就因为我平时没有机会跟他们接触，不是没有跟他们机会感谢他们，那么我就借着这个机会，跟他们每个人说一声由衷的感谢。那么他们是谁呢？那么看一下。In 2007, that's the Tinzi and Michael Shear's class. Also have, they are. These people are 我先讲这几个名字，然后大家也可以看上面是写 acknowledgement and appreciation， 就是我们的感谢。那么他们如果有机会看到的话，也算是一个我尽了一颗心。三立蔡三立 ，Alex Ao 欧景言，金郭金佑 ，Chris 赵子仁，亲自绕刘亲自，Michael 谢富廷，请 Mr. 老帮我代为转告。OK。第二个 project 是佛教三字经，就是今年才出版的。那么是2009年的时候 YC 建立，后来2010年我们开始翻。那主要的翻译者是 Michael Lu， 后来有其他很多人帮着翻。那么 Michael Lu 是翻的时候，第一个学期翻佛教三字经，第二个学期翻了伪山警策。所以大家可以看说，其实我们真的找到一个很好的人才的时候。它的潜力是非常可怕的，非常巨大的。一个小孩子可以在一个学年翻出2个东西来，是很可观的。In 2010, 3 character classical Buddhism. The initiators YC Liang and main translator Michael Lu of the boys' school, together with the help of Jin Xiaodan, his mom, and Li Sude, his father. Later, Victor Zheng with Dr. Zheng, when he was still in Shanghai, he joined the team and helped contribute the translation. And luckily, we have other people joining. To Wang Huilu, when he come back during the winter vacation. 还有另外2个马来西亚的居士，邱正美，还有邱 Philip。Philip 曾经是帮金范法师在马来西亚做华华经的英文翻译。Later, James Robert and many other people helped review and edit the Wei San's exhortation. So in doing the 白山黑水一起营 Part 3, I'd like to publicly acknowledge the following people: Shanghai, Yao Min in Shanghai, Wei Lin Zheng, Zheng Yuilin在 San Jose, Zhuang Yanning in Shanghai, Chen Ying 在北京。To all these people whose names are mentioned or are not mentioned, I'd like to thank them all, to express my deep gratitude. It's through their time and efforts working as a team that we were able to achieve our goals. 所以回到我们的主题 spotting the talents and developing talents. Actually echoing the teaching of Master Hua, he putting on the mountain gate. What do you say? 画皮万邦，教育英才 educating for outstanding talents. So I hope to see, we truly yearn to see the arising of talents, truly cherish them and develop them. And this will truly make a difference in BTTS. 那么下面这几个都不是，我本来是时间不够，那么其实要讲一个鼓励的话呢，就是说，其实拿这个话来鼓励别人是不适合的，鼓励自己还可以。这是 Italian 的 national hero when he in the process of unifying Italy. He exhort and encouraged his soldiers, saying, I offer neither pay nor quarters, nor food. I offer only hunger, thirst, forced march, battle, and death. So I hope this can be an encouragement for people doing Buddhist translation. 我们呢，加州万华城市在一个很特殊的一个地理位置啊，东边是西边太平洋，背靠着5000年的文明，东边是落基山脉以及北美大平原啊，所以有很多的英雄豪杰会从中涌出来。我们应该好好把握，好好利用这个时机，天地时势造英雄。Okay, so here California is in a very strategic location. To the west is Pacific Ocean and 5,000 years of civilization in China. To the east, Rocky Mountain and a vast North American plain. From it will arise many talents and heroes, and we should be able to find them and make the best use of them. 最后是想说，这2天呢，明光常常讲说他说4点钟他做完早课，然后他爸爸说你要来参加《佛说慧明经》的翻译，他说可以啊，我说每天都来，他说他每天都来，那我说好，那就一言为定，你不能再改口了。好了，那就讲到这边了。
As we set up the curriculum for Dharma Realm Buddhist University, one of the major components of the courses of study that you can study is translation. And this program has been moved forward recently with a lot of vigor, and I'd like to introduce Wayne Chun, who's going to talk about the current offerings and the perspective of university training for Buddhist translators. Wayne?
Amitofo, good afternoon. I'm truly humbled, actually, to be speaking among such distinguished group of translators this afternoon. At the same time, I'm also very moved to actually hear all the work and accomplishment BTTS has done over the last decades. So as people already have heard this afternoon, the interrelations of Shifu's 4 legacies, monastic Sangha, translation, education, and interfaith. I'm here to further elaborate on the obvious connection between education and translation. Translation is a process of conveying meaning of a source language by means of a target language. translation is not merely a technical exercise. As many people already aware of the new Google service, Google Translate, that could technically translate from one language to another. And the text that the process we're talking about here today is not that. Translating translators is a process that needs to adapt and convey the original meaning and context into a worldview of its, into another worldview with its own mode of symbols, grammar, meanings, idioms, and metaphors. Therefore, interpretation is required. And such level of interpretation requires sophisticated skills of knowledge, both academic and self-cultivation, and not just ESLs and dictionaries. Moreover, to translate into another language means the translator, therefore, must possess a breadth of knowledge of both the transmitting culture, in this case, India or China, and the receiving culture, Europe and America. Its history, religion, philosophical worldview, psychology, etc. In order to carry over the meaning from one culture to another and not get lost in between. As many seasoned translators in this room would agree, a good liberal arts education will be a minimum requirement needed for such endeavor. Venerable Master has repeatedly stressed that, quote, all of you English speakers must learn Chinese, and all you Chinese speakers must learn English, end quote. He's not talking about just vocabularies and grammars. He's referring to a broader knowledge of both the context of Asian culture and the target culture, in this case, the rest of the world. As Dharma Master, Reverend Heng Sure has alluded to, that DRBU, Dharma Buddhist University, is in a process of reorganizing its academic programs, and then will launch 2 new degree programs very soon, Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Arts and Master of Arts in Buddhist Classics. We're very excited about both of these programs, its creation and the launch. However, I won't go into too much detail about the program this afternoon, except to make a few remarks. First, one of the hallmarks of both programs is its focus on studying the primary texts, with a specific emphasis on the major Mahayana sutras that Shifu himself lectured many years. So students in our program will be studying Avatamsaka Sutras, Lotus Sutras, Shrangama Sutras, and many sutras that Shifu himself lectured and DRBA has translated over the years. So students will be studying these primary classical texts alongside with other important work of Chinese culture as well as the Western civilization. Second, language training. Studying of classical Chinese and Sanskrit are required component of our new program. It is not an option because we believe that basic language skills will aid the students' understanding of the primary and original texts. Another element of emphasis of our new program, of a liberal arts program, is students' ability to read, write, and communicate. And these skills are often overlooked in today's higher education. Students who successfully complete a DRBU degree will therefore be equipped with the core skills needed to be a good translator. I recently heard a recount of Shifu's conversation with the senior Dharma master. And then it was recent, so I want to share it here with the group. That in a process of building and establishing CTTB 10,000 Buddhas, Shifu say to this Dharma master, who is a senior nun, that in the future, the best translators in the world will come to this place and translate the Buddha's text, end quote. And this is in the broader context of CTTB being the bright beacon of the Buddhist center, where people all over the world will come here to practice, to study, to translate, and to cultivate. I'm a firm believer of this vision, and I'm very privileged to be working with other cultivators to carry out Shifu's legacy and build this place. To find out more about the university's program, feel free to pick up a view book. I believe there's a couple lying around. Or we're in the process of revamping our website to reflect our new programs, so that we'll relaunch the website very soon. So I'll end my remarks here.
Thank you, Wayne. We are officially at the end of our advertised time. It's 4:30, but we have an important portion of our program to come. So I'm going to ask your permission, please, to give us another half hour. All right? The doors will be locked. No one will be allowed to leave. I'm kidding, of course. I just want to let you know that we said to 4:30, but we got a little bit of a late start, and I think some of the best is yet to come. So I hope people will allow us to add a half an hour or so to our program. And I would like to introduce now the first speaker from the portion of the program that's called Distribution, New Vistas, New Visions. Where are we going now? Once we translate the texts, how do we get them into people's hands? How do we get them in front of people's eyes? This is the next topic. And the first speaker is Madalena Tan Mujie. If you were here for the 50th anniversary, you got a chance to listen to Madalena talk about what it was like to take refuge with the Venerable Master at age 11 in Hong Kong. Back when Shifu first started doing his teaching, Madalena's whole family drew near. She has carried her interest in translating and publishing texts to China, and as we heard a little bit from Dharma Master Heng Yin's introduction, this has proven to be spectacular results. So let's ask Madalena to tell us about what's going on distributing sutras in China.
I was looking at the time. Oh, I don't have to speak. But
sorry, no escape.
I know. With Dharma Master Sure here, I guess I cannot go anyplace. Well, ever since I met our Shifu, Dharma Master Xuanhua in Hong Kong, and I have never seen him stop lecturing or teaching us about Buddha Dharma. So I remember, as have you heard from Dharma Master Chi earlier, that she said right after they took the full precept coming back from Taiwan, and then Shifu told them to start doing the translation. But although in the beginning they translate everything in English and then work just with the Americans, but I also remember Shifu told them they have to work with the Chinese, because eventually, although he brought the Dharma to the West, but eventually should go back to China or to the Asian country. In 1995, just before Shifu left us, and he specially instructed us. I was there. He said, because I was working in China during those times, and every time I came back and I would report to Shifu about China. And then so he said, try your best to bring the true Dharma back to China. So because hearing this, and at that time I didn't really understand. But then later on I do. So that's why I said, we follow the instruction of the Venerable Master in determination to transmit the original and correct teachings of the Buddha. Okay, as you heard Dharma Master Shu said a little while ago, you know, some of those elder Buddhists will tell you, the elder Buddhist master will tell you, don't touch the sutra, right? But that's not Shifu. So that's why I just happened to have a chance to bring Shifu's Dharma back to China, and that is the true Dharma. And of course now is widely welcome in China. And you will see later on that I will show you that the books that we publish in China is up to now is still the top 10 sale. Okay, this is okay, this is the slide that when we first begin in 2006, and you see Dharma Master Sure and Dharma Master Yun signing the contract with the publisher in Beijing. And that was in March 2006. And in the beginning, the publisher wasn't really that enthused about publishing our books, because they heard about Wan Fe Teng, they heard about Xuanhua Sangren, but they are wondering whether that will go. But anyway, finally he decided and give us a chance. Okay, the next one. And these are the first 3 books that we published in 2006. And so they did try their best to get it out in time for our first trip to visit in China. So this was out in the market in September 2006. And you see this slides is that we offer our first prints to Dharma Master Yi Cheng, and he's the elder master and also the president of the China Buddhist Association. And also later on, we also offer our first prints to some of the well-known places, especially like the Lingguang Shi, that is where the Buddha's tooth ceremony was held, and also the Historical Culture Museum in Beijing. And then you will see the next few slides is all about how we offer our books, introduce our books in China to some of these well-known monasteries. And the word really spread out is after the publisher display our books and introduce our books in their booth during the International Book Fair held in Beijing also in 2007. Well, here's some of the monastery that we distribute our books to them free and introduce to them about our books. Here's another, and we cover quite many provinces, and these are the major monasteries in all different provinces. But then we also distribute our books to some of the rural areas, like for instance in Heilongjiang, Inner Mongolia, Xinjiang, and Gansu. And these are the books that we published in 2007. And right now, even up to today, the Earth Store Bodhisattva Sutra is still the top 10 sale. And these are the bilingual books. Some people may wonder, since we publish the books in China, why do we do the bilingual? Actually, in China, nowadays, a lot of the younger generation, they are very interested in Buddhism because they need their spiritual food, okay? And, you know, in China now, a lot of the younger generation even like they are only in 30s or even early 30s, they will become like the CEO or even abbess. But then they don't have anything to feed their spiritual part of the body. So they want to investigate into something that can help them. And also, especially for the students in university. And some of them, they want to learn other than Chinese, but they also want to learn English. So that's why the bilingual book were out for just not even 3 months, and all our books are gone. And unfortunately, at that time, we got the permit to publish the bilingual book. Not after that, we didn't have the permit. So not until later on. Okay. Next one. And we try again in different form, and this is in 2008. Other than just the books, we have Sifu's voice in the DVD MP3 to explain the sutra. So a lot of people just listen to Sifu's voice is already feel so blessed, and eventually they became Sifu's disciple by bowing 10,000 times. They consider themselves as Sifu's disciple. And this is 2009 that we published both the paperbacks and the hardbacks of the Lotus Sutra. Of course, this is a very huge work for our Dharma masters, especially Dharma Master Heng Yun and also Dharma Master Jing Guo. They work very hard for, because all these books, although we already have it in traditional characters, but since we have to publish it in China, we have to redo a lot of the text, and we have to change it into simplified characters, and also we have to really edit it in order that we don't have anything that we don't want China to think that we are slandering or we are talking about somebody's, you know. So that's why we have to do a lot of work for our books in China. And we also thank Dharma Master Heng Learn. She spent a lot of time to redo the audio tape and change it into a DVD MP3 for the Lotus Sutra. And in order to match with the set that we publish, so we also put the DVD MP3 into like a book form. So this is her hard work. And as you see, the Buddhist song by Dharma Master Sure, and we also published in China in 2009. This is another big one, is the Sarangama Sutra with Shifu's commentary. And we also publish it both in hardback and paperbacks. The reason we do that, because in China, there are some people, they love to read our sutra, except some of them, they may not have enough money to pay for the hardbacks. That's why we also publish it in paperbacks, because it will be much cheaper. But then, like the libraries of universities in China, they prefer our hardbacks, so they can keep it in the library. And this is the catalog of the publisher. And because ever since they signed a contract with us to publish Shifu's books, and it's been a very good sale for them. And so In 2001, they list us on the second page of their catalog about all the books that we have published with them. And this is the latest work that we just had it out, and that is also the one of the chapter in Shurangama Sutra, and also Sifu explained about the Shurangama mantra. And this is the beginning of the series of the Avatamsaka, and that is the preface, the explanation of the Avatamsaka Sutra. And how do we distribute our books? Most of our books distributed by the publisher, and they will send it out to the major bookstores in the major cities. So most people can buy our books from the major bookstores. And even they cannot afford to buy our books, they be able to just sit in the bookstore and read our books. And also they will put it out in websites and also online selling. And the most important part is they join the International Book Fair every other years, because that's only held every other years. And whatever amount they printed, they will give us copyright fee, and we will collect the copyright fee from them. And we also do our own distribution. And our own distribution is free, because some of the rural area in China, they cannot go to some of those major bookstores, but then yet they want to have Shifu's book. So we also send our books to the monastery, other than the major cities, monastery, and also in the rural areas. And we also send our books to the major universities' library. Nowadays, majority of the major university library has our books. And they did send their gratitude or their appreciation to us. And also, we have lay volunteers in China to help storage and shipping. And these are small quantity, because like sometimes some monastic, they will send us an email and ask for a copy, because they cannot get to any of those major bookstores or any major monasteries. Like for instance, some people in Gansu or Xinjiang or even Inner Mongolia, they will send us email and ask for a copy. And so we are lucky that we have some lay volunteers in China to help us to ship those, ship the books to those requests for it. And this is the works that needs to be done for 2012 to 2018. Okay, from end of this year, the prologue of the Avatamsaka Sutra with Sifu's commentary will be out probably around October. And the Shurangama Sutra with the excerpts of the Master's commentary in Korean language. Probably some of you don't know about this, because this was just started last year. And the translator who learned about our books is through his trip to China. When he was sent to China to stay there for 7 years, he found some of Shifu's book. And after he read it, he was so amazed, and he vowed that he will help do the translation in Korean language so we can publish it in Korea. And that's how it started it. So he contacted us and then asked us to give him the permission. So last year, Dharma Master Yun and Dharma Master Jingguo and me, we went to Korea and we discussed it with the publisher, and so they agreed to publish our books. And this book, this Sarangama Sutra, will be out in September, just before their national holiday for the August moon, because they said before the holiday, if the book's out in the market, then they will have much better sale. They also want to invite us to join in for the distribution in Korea. So I'm planning a trip to Korea, probably with some monastics from DRBA and lay people from DRBA to witness this special edition. Because in Korea, most of the Korea Sutra, although they have the Sarangama Sutra also, but the commentary is in the old Chinese classic. For the younger generation, they cannot understand. And they like our Shifu's commentary because it's so easy to understand, so simple. And so that's why the publisher is willing to publish our book. And also in 2013, we plan to publish bilingual Sarangama Sutra and also the bilingual Chan book and the Medicine Buddha Sutra with Shifu's commentary. And a general explanation of Song of Enlightenment also will be published in China in 2013. But other than that, in Korea, they also already translating another book of ours. It's a Chan series. I don't know the English name for that, but anyway, in Chinese, 打破虚空明心地. And also the Chan Su. And anyway, they are translating it now. After they finish translation, they will send it to us and then ask us to certify it, and then will be published next year. And also the Avatamsaka Sutra with Shifu's commentary is scheduled to be published from 2013 to 2018. And this is a very hard work, and we thank especially Dharma Master Hang Long, and she really spent a lot of time doing the work, transferred from the audio tapes to the text. And this is the future publication in Asian country. And other than we will continue our work in China, and also we hope to continue our work in Korea. And also we are developing the possibility to publish and circulate the sutras with Shifu's commentary and books in Japanese language in Japan. This is also because one of the lay person from Japan, and she was sent to China to a Japanese branch company, and also she happened to see Shifu's book, and she really that's the way she told me. She said, I was really awakened. I didn't know Buddhism is so good, not until I read your Shifu's book. And that's why she also vowed that she will do the translation and also we'll try to publish it and circulate it in Japan. And this is our future publication. And I know my time is up. Anyway, I'm glad. Well, so other than all this, you know, like all the other previous speakers say, we need translator, we need volunteers to help in editing, proofreadings, and everything, especially in Korean language and also in Japanese language. And thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Madalena. That's the idea that we could bring the Dharma back not only to China, but also Korea and Japan is really exciting. Next, let me introduce our hardworking Vietnamese translator who's going to have to get off the microphone so he can come talk to everybody. This is Ha Guo Hong, who is going to give the presentation about the current efforts of translating Shifu's Dharma into Vietnamese. Guo Hong?
Amitofo to our Dharma Master and Dharma friend. I received an email 2 days ago that asked me to talk about a Vietnamese translation work by the DRBA Vietnamese Translation Group. I contacted Dharma Master Heng Sure in Long Beach to ask him to make the presentation about this subject because he's more knowledgeable on this subject. But he could not come here today, so he asked me to speak on his behalf. I will try my best. So as we all know, the Venerable Master visited Vietnam in December 1974. So, and he planned the Dharma Seed there. So then in the early 1980s, with the flood of refugees, CTTB created a program to facilitate the resettlement of Vietnamese, Laotian, and Cambodian refugees in the newly adopted country, the United States. Since then, many Vietnamese have known about the Venerable Master and his teachings. And they also know about the two well-known three-step, one-bow pilgrimage by several of his disciples. The journeys that inspire a lot of people seeking the truth. Even right now in Vietnam, Venerable Master Hoa is very popular. We can even say that he's one of the most popular monks in Vietnam. With the help and collaboration from Dharma Master and friends in the US and Vietnam, his book and his teaching have been widely distributed in Vietnam from the south to the north and have been used in many Buddhist monasteries there. Recently, a monk in Vietnam, Reverend Thích Tâm Mang, in an article on his temple, has stated that he was inspired by the DRBA three-step, one-bow pilgrimages, and he has made a vow to do a one-step, one-bow pilgrimage from Saigon to Hanoi for world peace. The DRBA Vietnamese Translation Group was founded in the early 1990s and has come a long way since then. It first published was Bồ Đề Hai. Here, the first issue of Bồ Đề Hai, and the Vietnamese version, that's a Vietnamese version of Vaja Bodhisi. It was published in 1992. And many people have been involved in this Bồ Đề Hai over the years, and it is still being printed until today. This is the recent one. And we have other accomplishments, including creating a couple of Vietnamese DRBA websites in 1997, that are chuavangphật.org and the dogmasite.net, both of which have seen an average of about 45,000 site visits per month from people around the world. And around 30 DRBA books have been translated into Vietnamese, including the Earth Store Sutra, Sutra of the 42 sections, the 6-pager Sutra, the Buddha Speak of Amitabha Sutra, the Venerable Master Instructional Talks, the 10,000 Buddha True Repentance, and many more. Vietnamese audio, CD, and DVDs Video and audio files have also been created and are very popular within the Vietnamese Buddhist community. All of these books and multimedia can be found in the Vietnamese section of the BTTS online. And furthermore, in several branch monasteries, due to the growing numbers of Vietnamese listeners, audio equipment has been purchased to provide simultaneous Vietnamese translation during lecture and community events. Our translation group comprises of DRBA Dharma Master and Dharma Master in Vietnam, as well as Dharma friends from many countries such as the US, England, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, Vietnam. We work together across continents. Our DRBA translation groups use the 8 guidelines for translation of BTTS as our guide. And with the advantage of having the English and Chinese version available, our translation work has been less difficult compared to the English and Chinese translation groups. Also, time and time again, when we encounter difficult terms and we have to consult with other DRBA translation groups, we are always warmly received and assisted. For the future, we hope to continue helping to provide access to the Venerable Master teaching in Vietnamese. We also hope to translate 3 major sutra texts, the Avatamsaka Sutra, the Dharma Flower Sutra, and the Suragamma Sutra. We would also like to inspire the whole new generation of Vietnamese youth capable in Chinese, English, Vietnamese to get involved as well. Finally, if anyone would like to volunteer in this group, please contact us at this email address, bodehai@yahoo.com. On behalf of the DRBA Vietnamese Translation Group, we would like to thank BTTS, DRBA for their never-ending support, and everyone here and people online for listening. Thank you. Amitofo. Just leave it like that.
Thank you, Go Hong, especially on such short notice, and for Hong Shan for providing all the leadership over all the years. Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. John Hall, Pasika John Hall, who together with Lucy Hall, the two of them have been stalwarts in making the BTTS Online website available worldwide and receiving the orders and actually shipping them out as well. So if you around the world have received one of our books that you ordered online, for sure it came through the kindness of John and Lucy. So he's going to give us some more information about BTTS Online. John?
This one first. Yeah, okay. So here's the URL, excuse me, of the BTTS Online website. And I'll give you an intro of that website right now. Here's the website, and you can see possibly that it's arranged by languages. Under Chinese, for example, you have sutras with commentaries, Dharma talks by the Venerable Master, biographies, collected talks, and so forth. Under English, it's organized pretty much the same way. You have sutras. For example, if you want to call up English sutras, you would hit that, and the page would come up eventually. We have a little Wi-Fi issue here. This is a very full-featured website. If you go to the website with a tablet, for example, it will recognize you're on a mobile device, and it'll give you a mobile version which you can use, or you can scroll to the bottom and get the full-featured version. So that would work on any tablet. It would also work on your average smartphone, Android or iPhone. There are lots of features in the website that we have, some of which we're not using yet, some of which we are. For example, we have a website, we have an area here, so we're ready for ebooks. We have some ebooks here. A to Z is downloadable for Kindle readers. You can download that and it'll read on any computer or any device that I'm aware of. The Great Compassion Mantra CD is available for download. And so these are a great advantage, as anybody knows who's ever been to Amazon. I like to tell the short story of the gentleman in Sri Lanka who ordered a CD from us. The CD was $10. The shipping cost was $34. So that seemed a little out of proportion. So immediately we put up some popular CDs. So you can download them, and then at the top of the web page, there's a little section that says how to create a CD. So if you have a Mac or a PC, one flavor, either Windows 7 or XP, it gives you information on how to create your own CD with this. So this is ready for ebooks, and there are some on here already, and we're ready for more. Let's see what else. So the Vietnamese section is also quite large. In fact, the Vietnamese section, we have a lot of hits from Vietnamese users, maybe even more than US users. You can see it's very full-featured here. Each one of these is a Vietnamese book, and then we have a separate area for the Vietnamese CDs. So lots and lots of books in here. This website's about the 5th generation. It's been up about 5 years, about 8 years, since about 2004. There are also some French books here, Italian books, and some Spanish books. The DRBA calendar is here either for purchase, or there's also a link where you can see the entire calendar online. The same with Vajrabodhi C. You could either purchase it here, or there's also a link to the free website where you can access it that way. And I think that's about it. CTTB. There are various other websites listed over here on the left. Dr. Epstein's website, for example. So quick reference for popular websites. So this is the website that sells most all of the books that are in the bookstore over here. And we hope to especially increase the area here where we have downloadable media. One of the first downloadables we had came in through PayPal. When you buy online, you can either use a credit card or PayPal. So what's PayPal? That's a way to buy something without giving the person your credit card. And so we got a download for all of our downloadables. We only had 4, and they were all downloaded. And I was really happy, and I sent the person an email. I said, great, what else would you like to see downloadable? And his email came back from the United Kingdom, and I had no idea where he was, because when you use PayPal, it's completely anonymous. And he was very excited about it, and no complaints at all. So we're looking forward to a lot of ebooks, and so people can buy the traditional books in print or CDs, or they can also use ebooks or CDs, and I think there'll be a talk on that. That's it for sure.
Thank you, John. As I mentioned early at the outset of our program today, there's a whole new idea that we want to introduce to you today. This might be the first time that most of you have heard about this idea, and it's very much a work in progress. It's kind of a proposal. It hasn't really been implemented yet, but I think it has great potential. So I'd like to invite Liu Wofu, Lao Tek Hak, to come and introduce the idea of book distribution centers.
Okay, Omidofo. Me and Federer probably the last 2, and we try to compete each other, see who will be the shortest talk that we could present because we are already so late. And I heard about Jin Yan Si is all out to go and gather talents with no pennies in his pocket. What about the 99%? And if you were to say that I have no talents, what can I do in BTTS? Look here, we go around gathering names and all that. If you are happen to be those that dare not write down your names in there, I encourage you to do so, because I'm one of that 99% that is not talented. After you listen to my broken English, you know that I can't translate English, right? And then, you know what Taiwanese told me, my Chinese? He said, 你的中文听起来怪怪的. So I'm nowhere in BTTS, yet I'm here, representing the 99%. And that's a lot of you down there, right? So that's exciting. And you see, the reason that I'm here, because I don't have talent, but I do have leg. I have 2 legs, just like you. And that's what the sutra needs, because sutra has no leg. It's a direction and it shows you the way. And they need the leg to bring it to whoever needs the direction. So how can we refuse to do that? So that is what we need to do. The translator are putting all their efforts in making sure that they have placed the proper Dharma into their book. That proper Dharma need people to bring it to everybody in the world. And this is what we must say, count me in, I want to do something before I die for the sake of the Dharma. And I have that inspiration. And I hope you can join me. If you have talent, join Jin Yan Si. If you have no talent, join me. All right? And this is the very important task that we need to do. So we have come out with some idea like BTTS Outreach Center, whereby you can be in your home and create a center so that you are gathering people who are interested in the Dharma, keep the Dharma alive in all the lay people's home. And we want to support you through the center here by providing you live Dharma Master speaking to you through the center, and also probably to your young children. And also we can have question and answer, and through the advantages of this Skype and all that. So I hope we can, together with your inspiration and together with our eagerness to spread the Dharma, we want to do something that we can spread the Buddhism. And in your home, you can also stock up books and start to distribute the books. And that way, we bring the Dharma to every home. Now, today, why I'm standing here and trying to do something for the Buddhism, although I'm not talented, is because in one occasion, I was so benefited in my first trip to City of 10,000 Buddha. I actually didn't want to come in, and I'm about to walk off. But because of my wife, I thought I shouldn't walk off because I was the one that bring her into the Buddhism. So I end up coming, and I changed myself. So that was my life turning point in 1988. Now, when I got so much of benefit from the Dharma, that day in Taoyuan Hall, I was telling myself, because Sifu was up there asking people who have responses in the attending of this ceremony, come out and share with people. And at the back of my mind, I was saying, oh, I'm too shameful. I also cannot be arrogant. I don't want to go up and talk. And Sifu was waiting, and I see there's nobody else going up. Sifu say one word, I immediately stand up and go up. And what did Sifu say? It's just the same thing that I'm going to inspire you to. For that, what Sifu say? Sifu say, if you have been benefited from the help of the Buddha and Bodhisattvas, you must share with other people. Otherwise, you cannot face up to them. 你对不起他们。如果你从佛菩萨得到这个感应跟利益，所以 so I encourage everybody here. We today are very blessed. We have benefited tremendously from Sifu introduces this Dharma, this benefit of the Buddhism that has been beneficial to our life. There are a lot more out there crying for help. Can we say no? Okay, so please continue to sign up, okay, before you walk out of the door. Thank you.
Sign me up. I have 2 legs too. Today's last speaker for this afternoon's portion is Fedde de Vries, a young man from Holland who also heard the Dharma sound and said, I have 2 legs, I'm going to walk to City of 10,000 Buddhas. Actually, he flew. I don't want to give you the wrong impression, but he followed his inspiration to come and, you saw all the Dutch translations. Those are done by Fedde and his colleagues. And also today's program, I might mention, was largely organized through Fedde's work. But he wants to talk about e-books, and we hope that you're going to see more of him in the future. This afternoon, after Fedde is done, I think we're over time, but it's been time well used. So we'll conclude after that. And this evening, after evening chanting at 7:30, there's going to be a little bit of the Avatamsaka Sutra lecture, and then a lot of talk about the deeper inspiration of translation from Professor Ron Epstein, who is one of those individuals I mentioned who was here from the very beginning, and also from David Rounds, who's going to share something about the translation of verses, Shifu's verses. People don't know our teacher as much as a poet, but indeed he was deeply inspiring. So that will be this evening's program at 7:30. So if you are fired up by what you've heard today and inspired, come this evening and find out some of the deeper connections between the vows of a great teacher and those of us who follow him. So Fedde, please talk about e-books, and then we're done. Aumi Tofo.
So as Mr. Lau mentioned, I had a little competition with him who would be the shortest talk. Well, I might win the shortest talk, but I'm not sure whether I can get up to the amount of energy that he brings in. That's pretty hard, I must say. But I do want to continue his talk about how we have 2 legs, or perhaps 2 hands, which can type on a computer, and how we can use those for the sake of Buddhism and for spreading the Buddha Dharma. Because as we were speaking about distributing the Buddhist teachings in the modern world, I and some of the others here, and I'm pretty sure some of the people who are listening or watching online, are true children of our own time, with our computers, our internet, and all our fancy gadgets. And as such, we encounter the Buddha Dharma in very strange ways, one can say. Dharma Sure mentioned how I came to the City of 10,000 Buddhas, and why did I come to the City of 10,000 Buddhas? What got me here? Well, I can think back of how I originally learned and encountered the Buddha Dharma, and I've been thinking back of that in the past few days, actually. And what I remember is actually a lot of hours staring at my computer screen, staring intently at the PC, as so many of my generation are doing. But what I was focusing on, however, were not video games or whatever else teenagers go online for nowadays. No, I would read Buddhist books in PDF format. The 8 volumes of the commentary on the Shurangama Sutra by the Venerable Master, for example. It was those PDFs, which are online on Dr. Ron Epstein's website, which introduced me to the Venerable Master's teachings. Actually, I know some other young American or young Western laymen who encountered the Venerable Master's Dharma through those PDFs, through those very PDFs online. So there's some sort of affinity there. And for us and others of our generation, it's been very precious to find a Buddhist teaching in that format, in a format which is, which speaks to us, which we can easily access, and we grew up with it. In fact, digital reading material, e-books, are now at a stage where they are seriously competing with old-fashioned print books. More and more people read their books on a digital device, and bookshops which sell old-fashioned print books are going out of order just because they don't sell their books anymore. And also, these books are getting so popular that people want to use them for Buddhist books or recitation books. Just yesterday, I heard, or I think perhaps the day before yesterday by now, I just heard that one of the graduates from, I think it was the girls' school, requested a digital version of the recitation handbook so that she could recite the morning ceremony on her way to our classes in the subway. And obviously, if we want to live up to the expectations that the Venerable Master had for spreading the Dharma, we should be able to provide such ebooks. They would be a great help for people. Because ebooks obviously don't need shipping. They get to you very fast and doesn't cost a lot to ship them. This makes the Dharma's propagation very convenient. Furthermore, they're instantly downloadable and are easily linked up with other online services such as the website of DRBA or other websites, and with video or audio material. So given all of this, if we want to accord with the conditions of modern age in spreading the Buddha Dharma, I believe we need to systematically make BTTS material available in ebook format. And some work has already been done, as John Hall showed us, but we need to work hard on making more of this available online, and I'm sure a lot of people will benefit. But to bring a lot of people a lot of benefit, we also need at least some people to help us. So if there's anyone young and tech-savvy listening here or online or perhaps later when this is archived who sees this, I sincerely hope that you get excited and sign up to help us. Well, perhaps not help us so much. It's not that we need you, it's the Buddha Dharma that needs us all to help it spread. So that was what I wanted to share, and I hope you will all use your 2 legs or your 2 hands to help spread the Buddha Dharma in this world. Amito, thank you.
That concludes our program for the afternoon. I'm going to invite everybody who would like to join us in dedication of merit. This would mean standing up and getting ready to do 3 bows to the Buddhas and then 3 bows to our teacher. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. That concludes our program. Amitofo.